Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, I checked out Best Friends Volume 2, and for some reason, the art in Friends is in parentheses. And this 2018 film was directed by Justin McGregor and stars Tommy Wiseau, Greg Sestero, and Christine Stephenson-Pino, among others, of course. So you might be wondering, what is the movie of this story? Well, with this one, it is Volume 2, so you do kind of have to watch Volume 1. It starts right after the ending of Volume 1. And so I'll try not to give it away, of course, but I do want to tell you about this movie. And let's just say that Tommy Wiseau's character has disappeared for whatever reason, and Greg's character is left in possession of this safe. And the safe is pretty cool. It's like hidden inside of an ATM, which is kind of like one of the funnier parts of this whole, situation. And he wants into the safe, and he can't open it for whatever reason. So him and his girlfriend, drive it across country to see her uncle, who also can't open the safe, and they have a whole thing with him. And then, of course, they still want into the safe, so they call in another guy, and it just kind of, escalates from there. What will happen, though? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss this movie. Well, with this one, I did, review Volume 1 before, just last week even, and then I, actually got a chance to watch Volume 2, so I, of course, took it. And I have to say Volume 1 is better, unfortunately. That's always the way these things kind of go, Volume 1 really kind of gets you into it, and then Volume 2 is often, a disappointment. This one, though, does have, fun elements, I would say. For example, I think the whole thing with the uncle and how weird he is and crazy he is, certainly works for what they're going for and kind of gets you into that kind of bad movie kind of feel to it. Other than that, there's a bunch of other elements that, of course, do work. There's a bunch of twists even. And then what else? Yeah, it's certainly just kind of the humor of it, isn't the same as Volume 1 or even like The Room. I heard, though, that with this one, the writer, Greg is actually the writer on this one as well. He wanted to do kind of more of a David Lynch type of movie, and I can see that for sure. It just doesn't mesh well with kind of the Room aesthetic and storytelling style, and so it is kind of odd that way. It certainly does not feel like the first movie, and I would say that it's certainly something that, we had to discuss, I would say. And that's not to say that there aren't things in this one that do work. I do think this one has like a few touches of kind of what made the first volume so good. Like there's just some awkward dialogue as well in this one, awkward line delivery that you just, gotta chuckle as well. What else? A big part of The Room is always throwing the ball around, and they had that in the first one. This one, they also have it, but it's like just a guy in like the woods just throwing it at targets and stuff, and you're like, oh, he's not even, using the ball for, any conversation. He's just throwing this ball, and I don't know, there are certainly some fun elements. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film, even though I've clearly, hinted at it. With this one, the acting, certainly is not strong. But that's kind of like why you watch The Room, right? It's like for the bad acting and the poor line delivery. And this one has, some of that, but I think it's kind of more, better written. So there's not as many awkward lines to say and things like that. And of course, without Tommy Wiseau, like he's the master of that awkward comedy in the first one. And without him in this one, it's just really kind of lacking a certain quality that, made me fall in love with the first one. And with that being said, what you do see of Tommy Wiseau is him having his face covered. So you never like really kind of see his face. I think you might see his face like twice in the whole movie or something. And so he just has like this helmet on, like this Crusader helmet going on. And it just like makes you wonder like what the heck is going on with this. And then it kind of seems like there's flashbacks or flash forwards, like who really kind of knows. And I guess that's kind of the David Lynchian aspect of it, trying to add this metaphysical layer to it all. But it just comes across as something like very different from the first volume. And, Tommy Wiseau was a big part of that. Like he made me kind of fall in love with the first volume. So yeah, certainly kind of disappointed with this movie. And so would I recommend this movie? Well, if you watch the first volume, I think it kind of got to have the conclusion to it all. It's just, not as good. So certainly, if you feel like it, take your time to pressing play on this one. But yeah, if you watch the first one, find out how it all ends. So, yeah, I certainly did. And, You know, I did enjoy it for the most part. It's just, it wasn't as good as the first volume, and that just is so frustrating. So, you know, if you want to, press play on this one. As for a rating, well, I gotta give it the okay score of 4. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.